Well, hello, everybody. This is Brandon, the Little NC Farmer, coming to you again today for another something different time. And today is the last Wednesday of June. Guys, it's hard to believe the year is half over with. I mean, just think about it. Really, the days are going to start getting shorter from here on out. And guys, the year's slipping on away. But I have to say, still well pleased with my garden. I just wished I could have had more. Uh, but we just take what the good Lord will let us do and trust Him. You know, we just do what we can. But overall, my garden's still doing great, folks. I mean, y'all saw the video where we laid our corn by. Didn't get a lot of rain on it. I think we got close to maybe a half inch. I can't remember. I've got it wrote down. I think it was almost a half inch. I think's what it was. But which is not a lot. And I noticed this morning when I was down there looking at it, there's some burnt places on some of the blades. So I'm probably going to have to throw some water on it eventually. So, we'll take care of that as needed. But I do want to say I appreciate all my subscribers. I appreciate all your support, your kind comments. Everything you've done to support me, I want to say thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. And uh, I've been thinking on some things. I haven't, I know I haven't put up much on, using the tractors or in the field or anything like that lately. And I've not given that up. Uh, it's just right now for the lack of time. Guys, I apologize for these dogs that just simply bark for no reason at all. It'd be different if there was a stranger around. But these dogs are allowed just to bark at random whenever they want to, as long as they want to. And that's why I don't have one, because I'd probably go to jail for making it hush. But anyway, probably shouldn't have said that. But anyhow, it just gets on my nerves when I want to rest and relax and kind of be quiet. I got to listen to dogs bark. So that's just the day and hour that we're living in. I'll say more about that in just a moment. But no, I'm thinking on some things maybe next year that we can do, and I mean, even before next year's for that matter. Um, regarding the tractor, I know a lot of you guys like to see that, and I enjoy it too. So, but I have some things that I'm thinking about and trying to get some things organized uh, that we can do. And I'll say more about that in the days ahead. But our weather, it's actually been pretty reasonable up until today. And guys, I can tell you right now, the humidity is so thick today, you could actually reach out and almost touch the air. I mean, literally. It's heavy today. And we had a pretty thick fog this morning. Uh, I know when I was out earlier, it was pretty heavy fog. And I got out, picked blueberries, picked the blackberries off, and walked through the garden. I did find a stink bug on my squash vines, the only one I found. And I got him off, took care of him. Now, the Japanese beetles have been on my blackberry vine, and I've been having to take care of them. And if you'll just pick those off, put them in warm dishwater, uh, with dish soap in it, that usually will take care of them. But guys, don't just throw them out. They make good compost. Just saying. And so anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. But everything so far, guys, I've not got any complaints. Uh, it's just I'm a little bit behind from some of you guys that are down south of me, and used to. By this time, we were already getting squash, green beans, cucumbers. Uh, done had our onions, peas, and thinking about digging potatoes by this time. But our climate has changed, and it is so much later now than it used to be. Getting things, planted, and so that's just the way it is. So, but anyway, I want to get into our subject today, and I want to just talk about this. What in the world is going on? Have you ever asked yourself or asked an individual, or you ever asked that question, just asked it maybe to yourself, or, you know, maybe you've asked it to your dad or your mother or your spouse or your children or friend or some guys at work or whoever. You just ask that question, what in the world is going on? And I thought about, there was a time, it's been a few years back now, uh, when I was working in the hosiery mill up here. My boss man was out and he left me in charge that night, and the computers went down. Well, when the machine operators took their bags of work off the machine, they had a ticket and they had to scan that ticket showing that it was run and it was put into gray goods. And so it would update the inventory. Well, the computer being down, we couldn't scan it. Those machines, I mean, we had to keep doffing the bags off of them. And if we didn't, we couldn't let the machine just stand there. So I told them, I said, we'll just put the bags in these buggies down here at the end of the aisles. And I said, maybe they'll get the thing going by time daytime gets here. And so we had bags of work, guys. I mean, it was stacked up just everywhere. And I'll never forget, the main boss came in that morning and seen all those bags just piled up everywhere and said, what in the world is going on? I said, the computer's down. That's what's going on. Well, have you called somebody? I most certainly have. And I said, not only did I call them, I said the boss man on second called them as well, because it went down while on second. I said, we've not had a computer all night. And it just goes back to the simple days, just a pencil and a piece of paper, and you mark it down and you got it. But, this is supposed to be so much better. But I'll never forget that. What in the world is going on? But guys, to bring it to to a more serious matter, I look at our world going on around us and I'll say, what in the world is going on? And I can tell you a lot of what's going on. There's a great falling away now. There's a falling away from the things of God, even within churches. There's a falling away. The Bible prophesied that, guys. Jesus even himself made the statement that day, talking about the second coming of the Lord, could not come until there be a falling away first. And we're seeing that, guys. I mean, literally, within the past 6 months, guys, I mean, there has been a great, especially within the last year and a half, with, the virus that we had back last year, and with churches not having regular service, people got accustomed to not going. And literally, I don't think they'll ever be back to full capacity like they were. Now, I could be wrong. I've been wrong about a few things. But, guys, I mean, people just, they've become nonchalant about going. I mean, they could care less. They can go with it or go without it. Don't really matter. And for the most part, we're finding out who really loves the Lord, who was just there for the show, what they can get out of it, the thrill. And there's a lot of that today. And, you let tribulation come and you'll find out real quick who's right and who's wrong. And just let a little bit of tribulation come in, and you'll find out real fast just exactly who's got God and who don't, because he'll shine through. And I see a lot of people today, I hear so many people they talk a lot of good stuff. I mean, they can talk it up. As Grandma Walton told Grandpa one time, said, "Oh, you could explain away the depression if you wanted to." And these people, they've got an answer for everything. Well, I don't, because I'm gonna tell you, I'm seeing things around, guys, that I never thought I'd dream that I would see. And it all goes back to the day and hour that we're living in. But more than that, and it's been said by other YouTubers other than me, but not only is there a great falling away, but God is swiftly, as I said last week, God is swiftly taking his hand off of our nation, off of our land. You know, the Bible talks about righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And, beloved, that's what's happening today. And the cup of sin is filling up as we speak. I don't really want to get into naming a lot of them. Not that I'm going to compromise at all, but it might put me in a different algorithm, and who knows what would happen to my channel. It's a shame that you can't say certain things without it causing you to get marked or whatever, whatever the case may be. And it's a shame that we're in that day and hour now. But there's just all kinds of sin that's going on, that's taking place now, and nobody's offended about it no more. I mean, I thought about it, back in the late 60s, we had what was known as Woodstock. And some of you may remember that. But I can remember hearing my grandparents talk about that. And they said, if Jesus doesn't come soon, they'd be surprised. Well, guess what? He didn't. But guys, what would they say if they could see our world now? I mean, they would say, what in the world is going on? Well, I want to assure you one thing. God has not forsook his children. Believe me on that. And thank God he hasn't. And I've heard people make the statement, oh, I've heard that he's coming all my life and I ain't seen him yet. Well, he also prophesied that there would be scoffers coming in the last days, saying, whence is the promise of his coming? And so, that don't change nothing, guys. It's the blessed hope that the child of God has, that some glorious daybreak Jesus will come. Now, I don't want to open up a can of worms right here, but I'm looking for him. I don't know who you're looking for, but I'm looking for Jesus. I'm not looking for the Antichrist. I'm not looking for Satan. I'm not looking for, all the plagues and the things that's going to be. I'm not looking for none of that. I'm looking for Jesus. And, just because some people don't believe that he's coming, it ain't going to change my mind. You believe what you want to. I'm not forcing my opinion on no one or my beliefs on no one. But you believe whatever you choose to believe. But I just know what God settled in my heart through his word and through the Holy Spirit by being a guide and a teacher. I know what he's shown me. Now, with that said, guys, listen close. I made the statement last week about the wrath of God and the chastening of God are two different things, and they are. But that's not to say that God's people will not suffer some type of persecution, because they always have. Down through the years, study your Bible. Another great book, if you can get your hands on it, and I've got a copy of it, is Fox's Book of Martyrs. I recommend that every child of God should read that book. And guys, it opens so much. I mean, there's so much stuff in our history that has been wiped or covered up, wiped away, done away with, to hide. But guys, this is about people that were actually martyred for the cause of Christ because of the stand they took for the cause of Christ. They were martyred. Their lives were taken. Some, were burned at the stake. Some were impaled on sticks. Some were crucified. And even Peter, Apostle Peter himself, refused to be crucified like the Lord, and he was put on a cross upside down. And so, I mean, guys, I don't want no one, I don't want no one to think that we're not going to have some type of persecution. But persecution to the Christian is different from tribulation. They're different. They're not the same. And you've got to be careful that you don't mix these things together, because they're called one thing for a certain reason. And so I just wanted to clear that up today, because I don't want to get nobody confused. That's the last thing I want to do. But we are seeing so many just evil devices that's being perpetrated now, that's being put out. And I mean, really, guys, it's almost like people are calling evil good and good evil. Now, I mean, really, we're in that day now. And I have to be careful how I choose my words here. But if you try to witness to somebody, tell them about the Lord, you get labeled. They put that H word in front of you. I mean, it makes me mad, really, to think about it, to what's going on now, to what's happening in our land today. But guys, we should not let us. Jesus made the statement. Jesus himself. He said, be of good cheer. Be of good comfort. He said, in the world ye shall have tribulation. I don't care what age. Right now we're in the dispensation of grace. We're still going to have tribulation. We're going to suffer persecution. We're going to suffer, all kinds of things, adversity or whatever it may be. But Jesus said, be of good cheer. This is what Jesus was saying. For I, Jesus himself, have overcome the world. And so, beloved, our hope should rest in him. As the old songwriter says, on Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. Beloved, those old hymns, I love the old hymns. And the writers knew something. They knew God. And I love to read behind them. The one, It Is Well With My Soul. If you've never read the history behind that song, I urge you to look that up and find out how that song was written. But guys, it's in the Lord. Our hope should be in him. There's an old song the Primitive Quartet done many years ago called My Hope's in the Blood. And you get a chance, you ought to pull that song up and listen to it. It'll bless your heart. But guys, so many people today, they've got their hope set in their 401ks, in their bank accounts, their IRAs, their houses, their lands, and they're going to be bitterly disappointed, because it's all going to burn up someday. It'll come to nothing. It'll be absolutely worthless. And I mean, you could have all of your wealth tied up in a safe somewhere in your home. But guys, all it takes is, and this has been threatened not too many years ago. A stroke of a pen could make it all worthless. And I mean, just a few short years ago, guys, uh, under Slick Willie's administration, uh, it was talked about. And I remember that very well. But something never happened. Well, we're seeing things right now that's never happened before. So don't say it can't. Anything's possible. But guys, our hope shouldn't be in that. Nothing wrong with having a job, earning a living, and preparing and putting up and trying to take care of yourself and be independent and do. There's not a thing wrong with that. That's honorable. But my hope's not in all that stuff, guys. My hope's in the Lord. And I hope yours is too. Because He's the only one that's going to get us through this. He's the only one going to get us out of it. And so, but today we've got so many people putting their trust in their jobs. They worship their job. You say, oh, I don't want, yeah, they worship their job. They'd rather go to work on Sunday than to be in God's house. Well, I'm going to tell you where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be in God's house. And if you've got a job that takes you away from God's house, God did not give you that job. Mark that one down. I don't even have to pray about that, guys. Not that I'm spiritual, not that I'm any kind of super saint, because I am not. I'll tell you that right now. But beloved, let me tell you this. If it takes you away from God and the things of God, God did not give it to you, because God won't do that. And just say amen to my own preaching right there, my own sermon or whatever. But that's the gospel truth. But some people, they're not a bit more convicted by missing church than my truck is right over there. And I mean, that's just the day and hour that we're living in. It's the day and hour that we're in, guys. We're in that great falling away. And you know, I've talked a lot recently. I talked last week about, you know, people's without natural affection, and people that you know, the love of many waxing cold. And guys, we've talked about a lot of that recently, and we are seeing that now, and we are seeing the fruits of that. And it's bitter fruit. It's sour fruit. It is nothing that will last. It is nothing refreshing about none of it. So guys, we've got to be careful that we don't fall into those traps ourselves and become bitter. Let our love wax cold. It's easy to get that way, guys. Very easy to become bitter. And believe you me, if Satan can get a toehold in your life, that's where he'll do it at. He'll let just a little root of bitterness slip in. I've seen so many people in my lifetime, guys, used to be some of the sweetest, kindest, most joyful people to be around. A little tragedy struck in their life. I've been guilty. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I've been guilty of the same thing. But a little tragedy will strike in their life, and they'll turn bitter as gall. Guys, we have to guard against that. And, you know, the Bible even tells us that if we regard iniquity in our hearts, God will not hear our prayers. Bitterness is sin. It's sin for a Christian to have that in their heart. So guys, we all have to search ourselves and make sure we're not becoming like this world. We're not of this world. This world's not our home, guys. We're just pilgrims passing through. We say that so many times, but I don't think we really stop to think about what we're really saying. You know, there's an old song. That's the title of it. This world is not my home. So it's not. I've heard a lot of folks say this. They'll say it like this. Guys, I am kind of tired. I worked last night, so I'm tired. But people say it like this. We live as if today is our last day. But yet, we soul win, we study, we pray, and we tell others about Jesus. Right on. That's the Christian life. But more than that, can they see God in your life? God's really examined me in the past few months, guys. And I've got a long way to go to get where I need to be. But I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep pressing toward the mark for the prize of the high call. You got to stay in your Bible. You got to stay on your knees. Those are probably two of the most neglected things today in our world. You know, I thought about it, a lot of the people that has went off the scene the past few years. Wonder how many prayer warriors has went off the scene that nobody has replaced. Think about that. They're not as many as they used to be, guys. And honestly, I think that's part of what's going on today. There used to be people that was actually touching heaven. That's a term you don't hear no more. But I mean, their prayers actually touched heaven. And they prayed. And God heard their prayers. And God listened to their prayers. And God answered their prayers. If you'll study the book of Revelation, it talks about the vials. It talks about the prayers of the saints, where the little bottle was open, and a sweet fragrance, a sweet odor filled the room, and the Bible speaks that it was the prayer of the saints. Wonder what's going to happen one day when God goes to get one to open it, and there's not one there. I've heard so many testimonies during World War II and other wars too, for that matter. Little grandmothers that got up every day and they would kneel behind the wood stove and pray for their babies that were fighting on foreign soil. And they would come back home safe, and many of them testified to no doubt that it was the prayers of their mama that saved their life. Wonder how many praying mamas we got today that can pray for their children. Think about that one. Wonder how many daddies we got today that can beseech God on behalf of their children. Think about that, guys. What in the world's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. The church is backslid. The church has grown cold. When I say the church, I'm talking about as a whole. Not every single person in the church has, but I'm just simply saying, as a whole. And not every church has backslid either. But I'm just saying as a whole, guys, understand me. We've grown cold on God. And nothing's going to change, guys, till there's a repenting and a confessing to God from His people. He said, we quote this all the time. I've heard this quoted so many times. If my people, 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, just stop right there. There's a lot of people I know can't do that. They got too much pride. But he said, if my people who are called by my name, he didn't say the sinners, he didn't say the people out here running the beer joints and all the honky tonks. He didn't name them. He said, my people who are called by my name will humble themselves. Now I know, in rightly dividing the word, he's talking about the children of Israel there. I know that. You don't have to correct me on that. But it can be applied today. But he said, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and seek my face, seek the face of God, then, he says, will I hear from heaven, and forgive their sins and heal their land. There's a lot spoken in that verse. I think so many people, they quote it and they don't even hear half of what they're reading. You get past those first 2 points, what he says to do. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and seek my face. Humble. That right there, they could be 2 weeks of preaching done on that one little phrase right there, guys. I know a fella one time, he said, I'm not going to pray God to make me humble, because believe me, he'll do it. He said, I'm asking God to help me to be humble. There's a big difference. It's like forcing you to sit in that chair right there. You know, I'll push you, shove you, whatever I got to do, tie you down in it for that matter. But if I help you to sit down into that chair, that's a different way of looking at it. So guys, that's where we're at today. That's what's going on. And I know in times past when I would give a talk based on this, it did not receive, it wasn't welcome by a lot of folks, because you got too many pious people sitting in the church that thinks they're all right and it's always somebody else that's causing the problem. No. As old saying is, when I got one pointed at you, I got 3 pointed back at me. So that's the way it works. I'm in it with you guys. So what's the answer? Fall on our face before God and cry out to him. I'll tell you right now, God will hear his children. He said, a broken and contrite spirit he will not despise. That's the problem right there, guys. I see very little brokenness over our land today. I mean, I think what went on back about first of the year. And guys, how many people did it just break their heart? Did it break yours? Did it break mine? Think about that, guys. So what's going on in the world today? We're in the last days. And Jesus said when he comes on earth, will he find faith? I always wondered about that verse years ago when I first heard it. Will the Son of Man find faith? Well, surely he's going to find faith. Now, it makes a lot more sense. So guys, I hope and trust I've said something. I know it's been kind of scattered again, but I've just had this thought on my mind today. What in the world's going on? And so I hope I've said something, be an encouragement, be a blessing to you. And hopefully we'll be back on track, getting back on track now. I've had to switch jobs again. The job at the greenhouse, it slows down about this time every year, and so I was able to find a position, but it's nighttime work, but I'm grateful that I can have it. So thankful to God for that. So anyway, guys, till the next time, hopefully, Lord willing, we'll have some more stuff to put out for you, but we'll talk to you again. Thank you, guys, from Little NC Farmer.